Hello and welcome! Today, we're going to talk about something that's, well, it's tough, but it's so important because it affects so many of us. We're going to explore how to recognize the early signs of Alzheimer's disease. Let's walk through this together.
You know that feeling, that nagging question in the back of your mind when you see a loved one forget something. Is it just a senior moment, or could it be something more? It's a really common fear, and that's exactly what we're here to do today, bring some clarity to that question.
And right here, this is the crucial difference we need to get our heads around. You know, forgetting a name for a minute but it comes back to you later, that can be a totally normal part of getting older. But consistently forgetting the names of your own kids or finding the car keys in the refrigerator, well, that's in a whole different league.
So we're going to walk through the 10 most common warning signs, and we've split them into two parts to make it a bit easier. First up, let's look at the signs that really impact daily thinking, things like memory and planning.
Okay, sign number one is the one we all think of first, memory loss. But we're not just talking about where you put your keys. This is memory loss that really gets in the way of daily life, making things that used to be second nature feel, well, impossible. A lot of this starts in the brain's hippocampus, which is kind of like the memory-making department.
So what does this actually look like in real life? Well, it's asking the same question you just got an answer to 5 minutes ago. It's suddenly needing sticky notes for everything, even for simple daily routines. And it's that really heartbreaking moment of confusion when looking at a very familiar face.
And that memory loss can start to bleed over into our second sign, big challenges with planning things out. Neurologists call this executive function. Think of it as the CEO of your brain, the part that makes plans and sees them through. You might notice that concentrating and juggling multiple steps becomes a real struggle. For instance, a recipe they've cooked 100 times might suddenly look like a foreign language. Or maybe keeping track of monthly bills, which was always just a routine chore, now feels completely overwhelming. These are those practical, day-to-day signs you might see.
And from planning, we move right into doing. Our third sign is really closely related, but this one's all about those routine, familiar tasks. We're talking about the things a person could once do on total autopilot. You know, that muscle memory stuff, like driving a familiar route or playing a favorite game. Suddenly, those things take intense and often frustrating concentration.
And this can be really jarring to see. Just imagine, all of a sudden you're not quite sure how to get to the grocery store you've been going to for 20 years. Or you sit down for a card game you've always loved and the rules are just gone.
All right, number 4 can be really disorienting. It's this feeling of becoming unmoored from the here and now. People with Alzheimer's can start to lose their grip on dates, on the seasons, even just the general passage of time. They might not be sure where they are, even if it's a place they know well.
And what's really telling here is just how deep the confusion goes. I mean, it's not just forgetting it's Tuesday, it's being in your own neighborhood park and having absolutely no memory of how you got there. That's a huge red flag.
The fifth sign might actually surprise you. It's about vision. But, and this is key, this isn't about needing a new pair of glasses. It's about the brain struggling to understand and interpret what the eyes are seeing.
And this is where you can see how a brain condition can have very physical consequences. Trouble reading isn't about eyesight, it's about the brain failing to process the words. Problems judging distance can lead to dangerous falls on stairs or tripping on a curb. And sometimes, in the most profound cases, a person might even look in a mirror and not recognize the face looking back.
Okay, next up at number 6, we start to see a real struggle with language. This can go both ways. It affects their ability to speak, but also their ability to follow along with the conversation, which can turn a simple chat into a really difficult task.
This hand clock example is just a perfect illustration of what's going on. The brain is desperately trying to find the word watch, but that connection is broken. So it comes up with a new term, a logical but incorrect one to describe the object. It's a classic thing to listen for when you're talking with someone.
Okay, so we've covered the first batch of signs, the ones that mostly affect day-to-day thinking. Now let's pivot and look at our second set, which are often more about noticeable changes in someone's behavior, their judgment, and even their personality.
Sign number 7 is about misplacing things, but again, this is way beyond just losing your keys. We're talking about putting items in really strange places, like finding a wallet in the freezer, and then having absolutely zero ability to mentally retrace their steps to figure out how it got there.
And this is one of the most painful parts for families. To the person with Alzheimer's, the object didn't get moved, it just vanished.
And since they have no memory of putting it there, their brain invents a new story. Someone must have stolen it. It's really a defense mechanism that's born out of deep confusion.
The eighth sign is a change in their decision-making, and this tends to pop up in two really big areas: money and personal care.
You might notice a loved one who is always so careful with their money suddenly giving large sums away to telemarketers. Or maybe someone who is always impeccably put together starts to pay less and less attention to their grooming. These are huge shifts from who they've always been.
Number 9 is a big one: pulling away from social situations. When it becomes a struggle just to keep up with a conversation, or you're worried you'll forget someone's name, the natural response is often to just withdraw. They start to step back from the hobbies and people they used to love.
And finally, our 10th sign. This one can be one of the absolute hardest for families to see because it involves these huge, out-of-character changes to a person's core personality. The person you've known your entire life can start to feel like a stranger.
For example, a really easygoing person might become suspicious and anxious all the time. A calm person might suddenly get upset at the drop of a hat, especially if their routine is disrupted. It's like their emotional thermostat is completely on the fritz.
Look, seeing one or more of these signs in someone you care about is, without a doubt, scary. It really is. But it is so important to remember that you are not helpless here. Knowledge is power.
So what do you do next? Here's a kind of gentle roadmap for starting that incredibly difficult conversation. The key is to find a calm, private moment. Use I statements like, "I've noticed," and mention specific, gentle observations. The goal isn't to diagnose them. It's just to say, "I'm concerned and I'm here for you. How about we see a doctor together?"
And this is exactly why it matters so much. Getting an early diagnosis helps everyone move from just reacting to the confusion to proactively planning for the future. It opens up access to treatments and support that can genuinely help maintain independence and quality of life for so much longer.
These conversations are just never easy, and so many of us have to face them. We would genuinely love for you to share your own experiences in the comments. How have you navigated these tough conversations with the people you love? Your advice could be a lifeline for someone else watching right now. And of course, if you found this explainer helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching.